Okay, so sit yourself onto your left. Just come into a cross-legged position. And then just make sure that you feel like you're sitting evenly. Sorry, I haven't switched any lights on. Make sure that you're sitting evenly. So just have a little rustle about, a little rough, not rustle about, what am I talking about? Rummage about. Hold onto your knees and then lift up into the heart area, drawing your shoulders down away from your ears. Just look down at the floor, look at something that isn't moving. Focusing on long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalations, slow, deep, deliberate exhalations. Filling your lungs from the bottom to the top and emptying your lungs from the top to the bottom. Breathing into both lungs evenly. Keeping your eyes still in your sockets, in the sockets, to start to still the mind. After a little while, just observe, are you sitting evenly? If not, then just adjust so that you are sitting evenly. Bring your hands into Namaste. Press the palms firmly together, lengthen up into the chest. And then with an exhalation, allow your eyes to gently close. Focus on long, slow, deep, deliberate inhalations and exhalations. Consciously soften your jaw and your tongue and your throat. Draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to seek to generate a genuine, heartfelt sense of gratitude for something or someone or somewhere. Allowing that feeling of abundance to grow in the heart area. Holding on to that feeling of abundance in the heart area, release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards, holding the tip of the index finger with the tip of the thumb, stretching the other fingers away, just a gesture of wisdom and peacefulness that we can carry into our practice. And then as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Just hold onto your knees. Hold onto your knees and lift the heart area upwards. Draw your chin forwards and down to make good contact with the chest. Lift the chest up to meet the chin. And then consciously draw your shoulders down away from your ears. Take a deep inhalation in through the nose, and with an exhalation, draw the chin up to meet the ceiling, feeling the front of the neck really stretching out, pushing the chin to the ceiling. Take a really good deep inhalation, and with the exhalation, bring the chin back down to meet the chest, shoulders away from your ears. Chest to the chin. The more you draw the shoulders away from your ears, the more you stretch out the back of your neck. Take a really good inhalation, and then with the exhalation, raise the chin to the ceiling. And then come back to the center. Take a deep inhalation, and then right ear down towards the right shoulder, but keeping the shoulders away from the ear. Drawing both shoulders down away from the ceiling, feeling that stretch along the left side of the neck. Take a really good inhalation, come back to the center with the exhalation, and then over to the left. Feeling that stretch along the right side of the neck. Take a really good deep in breath. And then back to the center with the out breath, and over to the right with the out breath. Just synchronizing the movement with the breath. Stay here for a breath or two. Just lengthening out that left side of the neck. And then take a deep inhalation, and then on the exhalation come back to the center and over to the left. Just working to really elongate that right side of the neck. Drawing the shoulders down away from the ears. And then come back to the center. Hold onto your knees, lift up into the heart area, elevating the heart to the ceiling, drawing your shoulders down. Take a really deep inhalation, and then turn to the right side, but drawing across from the abdomen. Try and get your belly button to point at that right knee and beyond it. The belly button, and then the ribs, and then the shoulders. Taking really good deep inhalations and using subsequent exhalations to intensify the turn. Just observing where there is resistance, maybe where there's less resistance than you expected or more resistance than you expected. Just alert brain to your body's responses this morning to this time now, bringing your focus into this precise moment. And then come back to the center, hold onto your knees, lift up into the chest, elevate the heart area. Take a deep inhalation and then turn to the left. Again, just alerting the brain to the sensations of the body, drawing your focus into the present moment. So sometimes we feel a little distracted, don't we? So my brain feels a little distracted this morning. It's got lots of ideas for the thing that I'm writing at the moment, and it's difficult to switch it off sometimes, isn't it? So drawing your attention into the physical body helps the brain to quiet and to focus and to draw itself into the present moment, because what you're feeling now is the present moment. Come back to the center. Just observe how your body is feeling now. Just observe how your energy has changed. Maybe how your resistance, those areas of resistance have changed. And allow the breath to expand the chest. Is the breath expanding the chest evenly on both sides? If not, then seek to adjust it. Come down off your lift and sit back on your heels. So the big toes are together, the knees are apart, and again, just observe your body's response to sitting back on your heels. So maybe there's little resistance, maybe there's a lot of resistance. Just spend a moment just to observe that. When you're sitting on your heels, are you sitting on the same part of the heel on both sides? So really have a think, really draw your attention inwards. So if I'm thinking really rationally and clearly, then I realise I'm sitting on the centre of this heel on the right hand side, and on the outside edge of the heel on this other foot. So just roll over a little, draw the calf flesh out to the side a little, just drawing the heels outwards so that the little toes connect with the ground really firmly. Maybe your shins now connect to the ground with more evenness. Consciously push the shins firmly into the floor. Press the shin bone into the shin skin. So it really activates the thighs. From activated thighs, lift up into the spine, driving that activation of the shins up into the spine. And then come forwards, stretching your arms out in front, aiming to keep the seat bones down on the heels. Spread your fingers, spread your palms, keeping the shins activated, activating the shins into the shin bones, into the shin skin. Keeping the thighs activated, lengthening from the hips into the armpits, into the elbows, into the wrists. Keeping the forearms off the floor by squeezing the outer elbows in. Keeping the seat bones down on the heels. Pushing the big toes together, drawing the heels apart. Just breathe even deep inhalations, feeling that you can find that stretch in not just a forward
perspective, from the hips into the hands, but from the hands into the hips. From the toes into the heels, from the heels into the shins, into the knees, into the thighs, into the hips, from the hips into the knees, into the shins, into the feet, into the toes. So finding those three-dimensional extensions. Just lift your head, keep your right hand where it is, and then bring your left hand underneath the shoulder, underneath the armpit, sorry. Bring your left arm underneath the armpit, bring your left arm down onto the floor, bring your head down onto the floor, and then straighten that left arm. Press that left arm firmly into the floor, keeping the right arm in virasana. Press that right arm, that left arm deeply into the floor, and then roll the chest down towards the floor. Breathing even deep inhalations, just prise open the inner shoulder blade region. So if you've got an achy trapezius muscle, then this is a good way of just stretching it out. And then stretch your arms forwards, come back into virasana. So when we're threading the needle like this, maybe the seat bones lose contact. Just go with that. Try and work them down to the heels. Lift the head, thread the right arm underneath the left armpit. Bring the shoulder down if you can. Bring the head down if you can. Try and press that left hand into the floor. Hit the seat bones down to the floor. And then activate that right arm. Really straighten it. Push the back of the palm into the floor. And then rotate the chest down to the floor. Breathing even and deep inhalations. So maybe one side feels more alive than the other, but just stay in observation of your body's response. And then just stretch your arms away back into Adho Mukha Virasana, seat bones down on the heels. Maybe your seat bones connect to the heels better this time. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. And push your hands into the floor and sit back on your heels. Just spend a moment to observe how your body is feeling right now. Just from those simple stretches, perhaps how your energy has opened up. Maybe your energy around your head and your shoulders feel much more alive. So we're going to go into dog down. So come onto all fours, have your hands as wide apart as your mat, your little fingers on the edge of the mat, the thumbs towards each other. Turn your toes under, step back a little, and then come up into dog down. Again, just observe the sensations of the body. Observe where there is resistance. That's where you're more likely to kind of draw your focus into. But once you've found that resistance, maybe it's less or more than you expected. But once you've found that site of resistance, then explore the rest of the body, or explore the areas of non-resistance. If you've got resistance on one side rather than the other, so in my right armpit today, there feels like there's a kind of there's not discomfort, but there's definitely some resistance there. So then I go to the left armpit and see if I just can work it a little more evenly to balance out that sensation of resistance in the right side. So just observe how your body is feeling right now. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. I'm not giving you any major guidance on the pose. You've done this plenty of times, but just observe how the pose feels. As you stay in the pose, how the pose changes. Try not to just dwell upon the areas of resistance, because then they become heavy. Draw your consciousness beyond that into the areas of non-resistance. And then your perception of the resistance changes. Step your feet forwards, just come up into a standing position and get a couple of blocks for half uttanasana. Bring your feet as wide apart as the mat. Turning your toes in, lift up into the chest, hinge at the hips. And then bring your hands onto the blocks. Projecting the chin and the chest forwards, really activating the legs, tightening the kneecaps, activating the thighs, turning the fronts of the thighs inwards, lifting the seat bones up towards the ceiling, hitting the shins back so that your weight is in your heels. Just spending time in the pose, drawing your consciousness into the physical body. And then that is enough for to occupy your brain. If you can go down lower, then do. But just stay in the pose, observing, searching around the physical body for areas of resistance, areas of dullness, bringing action into areas of dullness. Areas of resistance and areas of non-resistance. Just feeling the body in 3 dimensions. So you shouldn't really be able to see much of the body at all at this stage, because your chin and your chest should be looking forwards, never down like this. The chin and the chest stretching forward. Okay, bring your hands into your hips and then come up into a standing position. And then just come up into Tadasana. Just breathe in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. Stretch your arms out in front, turn the palms all the way out, and then bring the hands behind you, tips of the fingers together, walk your hands up your back towards, your fingers towards the neck, and then draw the elbows back. Draw the elbows in towards each other to bring the hands together, winging the elbows back, lifting up into the chest. Drawing, looking forwards, and then drawing your attention into just bringing the image of the body into the consciousness. See the body in 3 dimensions, even though all you have to rely upon is the feeling of the body. So feel where your feet are. Feel where your shins are. Maybe hit the shins back to bring weight into your heels. Feel your kneecaps. Draw the kneecaps through to the back of the knee. Turn the inner knees towards the back of the room. Activate the thigh muscles, turning the thigh muscles in, tuck the tailbone in. Draw the navel towards the spine, lift up
into the chest. Feel the shoulders lengthening into the elbows, into the wrists, into the fingertips. Feel the neck and the head, so that you know where the body is in 3 dimensions through the feeling of the pose. And then gently release, just stretch your arms down and turn your palms all the way out. Just listening to the breath. And then just gently relax for a moment. Get a belt and then hang the belt over your right shoulder. Come into Tadasana. Just feeling in the feet where your weight is. Just let your legs hip forwards for a moment and feel that your weight goes all the way into the toes, so that the heels feel light. And then hit the shins back so that your weight goes into your heels. Hit your legs forward so that your weight goes into your toes, so that the heels become light. And then observe how your balance begins to feel less secure. You waver a little more. Hit the shins back so that your weight goes into the center of the heel. Turn the fronts of the shins inward so that you go into the center of the heel. And then lift from the heels up into the legs, into the hips, into the heart area. And observe that perhaps your balance feels more secure. Stretch your left arm forwards, really spread into the palms. Reach the palm outwards, so to the side of the room. And then keep your arm straight, rotating the upper arm in the socket as you reach behind you, and then bend your elbow, assist that hand up your back with the other, and then try and reach the neck. And then reach up, extend your arm up to the ceiling, and then keep the elbow high as you reach down, and then take hold. If you can't take hold, that is what the belt is there for. So see if you can take hold or use the belt, and then prise the elbows apart. Just listen to the breath. Soften the jaw, soften the tongue. Go back to your Tadasana. So you need to rely on the feeling of the pose to feel where the body is in 3 dimensions. Tuck the tailbone in, draw the belly button towards the spine, lift the heart area, prise the elbows apart, the upper elbow to the ceiling, the bottom elbow to the floor. After you've been there for a little while, see if you can maybe creep the hands a little closer together. And then gently release that top arm. Maybe drop the chest a little to release the back arm. That might feel like it's stuck, don't worry, it's not. And then stretch out into the fingers, and then turn the palms all the way out so that you really broaden the chest. Again, draw your entire focus into the physical body. Drawing your consciousness into the tips of the toes of each individual toe. Observe that when you activate the toes, you open in the abdomen. Draw your consciousness into each individual finger. And then just put the belt over to the left shoulder. And then lift up into the chest. Stretch your arms. Stretch your right arm in front of you. Turn the palm all the way out. Rotating the upper arm in the socket. Keep rotating that upper arm in the socket. That's the key to this pose. As you reach around, and then see if you can assist that hand up the back. And raise your left arm. It will feel, you still feel the previous pose probably in that shoulder, so just stretch out of it. And then bend your elbow and then see, can you take hold? One side might be stiffer than the other. This is a little stiffer for me, but again, you just use the belt if you need to. So just feel the physical sensations of the pose. So on this side, I can feel my tricep really resisting the pose, which feels good because it tells me it's there. So spend a little time in the pose, going back to Tadasana. Rising the elbows away from each other, lengthening from the armpits into the elbows. Listening to the breath. Softening your jaw and your tongue and your throat. Opening the chest. And then release your arms. Release your arms. Stretch your arms down, turn your palms all the way out. Lifting up into the chest. Just breathing even deep inhalations and exhalations. And then just release. Just be in Tadasana, just observing your energy. Just feeling how legs feel, how the shoulders and the arms feel, especially they're the ones that would feel the most energized after that previous pose. Just listen to the breath. Just bring your feet hip width apart, turn your toes in, raise your arms up, hook the thumbs into the crease of the elbows, wrap your fingers around your elbows. And then hinge at the hips. If you're protecting your back, you might want to just go onto a lift, like the back of a chair or a tabletop. Otherwise, just see if you can hang down, stretching out your back. So the feet are hip width apart, or you can go a little bit wider. Have the heels wider apart than the toes. Turn the shins and the thighs inwards. Activate the kneecaps. Press the kneecaps through to the back of the knee. Lift the kneecap up towards the thigh. Lift the thigh up away from the kneecap, up into the hip socket. Just breathing even deep inhalations and exhalations. And then release your hands down to the floor. Walk your hands towards the end of your mat. Have your hands shoulder width apart. Step the feet hip width apart. And then just, again, draw your focus into the physical body, into the sensations of the pose. Observe where there is resistance. And then observe where there is little or no resistance. Observe where there are areas of dullness. Feel on the skin
whether the body is activated into the pose. So if you draw your attention into the physical body, the sensations of the pose, into the breath, then there is plenty there to occupy the mind. And then sit back onto your heels, sitting back on your heels, lifting up into the chest. Just breathing in through the nose and out through the nose, listening to the breath. So just stay seated on your heels. We're just going to do a variation of garudasana as a seated pose. So make sure that you're sitting level. If it's not comfortable to sit back on your heels, sit on some blocks, sit on a lift, which you will need, and sitting cross legs. Just lift the chest up to the ceiling. Stretch your arms out to the side, lengthening from the heart area into the arms, stretching exponentially out from the heart and into the arms and the wrists and the palms and the fingers. And then bring your arms forward with the right arm lower than the left, and then cross the arms over, and then get hold of your shoulders, and then try and draw the shoulder blades apart. Try and creep the fingers towards each other behind the back. So try and prise open those shoulder blades, lift up into the heart area at the same time. Just be at this stage of the pose, observing how the body feels at this stage. And then the right hand is underneath the right elbow is underneath the left. So the bottom elbow, raise that arm to a right angle, keeping the other arm in the, so whichever elbow is underneath, is on the bottom, closest to the floor, bring that arm up into a right angle, keeping the other elbow in the crease of the elbow. That's it. And then straighten the other arm, the left arm, and then turn the palms to face each other. See if you can bring the palms together. If you can't get hold, you can just hold onto the thumb, or you can even use a belt if you need to. And then press the palms as closely together as you can. So I can't get my palms together, but I can get my fingers on the palms. And then lengthen the elbows away from the chest. Lengthen the forearms away from the face, and stretch the fingers up to the ceiling. Breathe even deep inhalations and exhalations, prising open the shoulder blades. And then release. Just release. Just rest your hands on your thighs, and just observe the feeling in the shoulders. Breathe in through the nose and out through the nose. Just observing deep inhalations and deep exhalations. Bring your arms out, stretching exponentially out from the heart area into the arms and the wrists and the palms and the fingertips. And this time bring your arms across, but have the left arm below the right arm, and then get hold of the outer shoulders so that the elbows overlap each other. The bottom elbow kind of overshoots the top elbow. That's what you want. And then that top elbow, that lower elbow, just raise that arm to a right angle. Keep the other elbow in the crease of the elbow. Straighten that right arm, turn the palms to face each other, and then raise the fingers to the ceiling. Draw the forearms away from the face, lengthen from the shoulders into the elbows. The more you press your hands together, the more you can
open up the shoulders. And then gently release, just bring your hands onto the thighs, and again just observe your energy. Observe your energy around the shoulders. And then come down onto your knees, and then one more time come up into dog down. So the hands shoulder width apart, and then come back up into dog down. Observe how perhaps your shoulders feel different. Maybe there's new resistance somewhere else. Just observe it, just be inside the pose. Observant of the sensations of the physical body, the sensations of the breath. And then come down onto your knees, just sit back on your heels and observe the energy of the pose, the energy of the physical body. Maybe the body is full of an energetic lightness that wasn't there before, or that you weren't as aware of before. Just come down onto your back into supta baddha. Just resting your back onto the floor. Resting your hands on your lower ribs. Just coming back, just bring yourself out of supta baddha for a moment, and then just rock yourself up into a seated position. Just get your blanket and just unfold your blanket so from that kind of pillow shape to one where it's just a little narrow fold like that. So I just unfolded it and then folded it down the middle like that. So you got this area for your shoulder blades, and then come back into supta baddha, but have the shoulder blades supported by the little blanket. So just the shoulder blades supported by the blanket, and then rest your arms over your head. So breathing even deep inhalations, deep exhalations. So it's a variation of the restorative mountain pose. It's a little more active than a traditional restorative pose, because the legs are activated. So keep the legs activated. I want you to maintain your awareness in the shoulder blade region, in the armpit region, in the elbows, keeping your attention just inside the physical body. Because one of the problems with a restorative pose is that perhaps it's time for your mind to wander. So we're just activating it a little more deeply by pushing the feet together consciously, feeling the inner groins opening up. If there's stiffness in your hips, you can put blocks underneath your thighs, outer thighs.
So you just got your arms resting over your head, just bending the elbows, just letting them be soft. And then bring your knees together and then just stretch your legs out along the mat. If it's uncomfortable in your back, then put a bolster underneath your knees. Otherwise, just resting down into the floor. Really opening up the armpit chest. Without disturbing yourself too much, just grab a bolster, bring your arms down, and then just put the bolster underneath the backs of your thighs, backs of your knees, and then come back into the pose, maybe just changing the hands, how you kind of interlock them. Just observing the ease within the spine. Gently release your arms, just bring your hands onto your lower ribs and then bend your knees and roll onto your side. Just sit yourself up into a cross-legged position for a moment. Hold onto your knees, just observe the energy around the shoulders, the warmth that radiates from the shoulders. Just bringing your attention back into the physical body. If you allowed it to wander. And then turn to the right side, drawing your abdomen across your ribs across. Again, just keeping your focus in the physical sensation of the pose. And then come back to the center. Hold onto the knees, lift up into the chest, and then turn to the left. Just again, just keeping your focus on the sensations of the pose.
the sensations of the muscles and the skeleton and the ligaments. And the flesh and the skin, from the face to the feet. And then come back to the centre. We're just going to run over by a couple of minutes if that's okay. So, so we're just going to come down into shavasana. So just get your folded blanket and get it as neatly folded as you can so that it feels even. And then have the blanket for your head. If you've got a bolster handy, have one for underneath your knees. And then just guide yourself down into the mat. Just adjust until you feel like you're in a good straight line and that you're laying evenly. Close your eyes. If you're wearing glasses, take them off just to let the face relax for a moment. And just observe your breath. And draw your attention into the physical body, just allowing the physical body to completely release into the floor. Observe how the body is supported by the floor and the bolster and the blanket. Just allowing the body to become heavy, releasing all of the muscles, unhooking the muscles of the arms and the legs so that the body just relies entirely on the floor and the equipment. And observe that feeling of energetic lightness that radiates out from the bones and into the muscles and the organs and the flesh and the skin. Using your in-breath and your out-breath to distribute that feeling of energetic lightness down into the toes, into the fingers, and all the way up into the top of the head.
you wriggle your toes, wriggle your fingers, just bring yourself back into this pose of Shavasana. And then draw your knees onto the bolster. Have your knees apart and your feet together, just resting your back into the floor. And then draw your knees in towards your chest. Just have a little rock from side to side, from top to bottom, just a gentle massage on the spine. And then gently roll yourself over onto your right side. Just stay down for a breath or two. And then straighten out the top leg, come back up into a seated position. Just a final spinal lift with the hands in the masti. Close your eyes and draw your breath in through your nose and down into the abdomen. Be conscious of the energy that you have released through your practice this morning. A good, positive, healthy flow of clean energy that the extensions and the forward bends and the twists and the reclining poses bring to the body and to the mind. And then draw your chin down to meet your chest. Just spend a moment to acknowledge the positive energy you have created inside. And then send some of that positive energy out into the world. And then gently release the backs of your hands down toward your knees, palms facing upwards, connecting the tip of the index finger with the tip of the thumb. Palms facing upwards, just a gesture of peacefulness and wisdom that we can carry into our day. And then as you raise your head, allow your eyes to softly open and the focus to softly come back. Thank you very much. So hopefully you feel like you've really focused your mind, given yourself lots of good, positive energy throughout the body, especially around the shoulders. And you can have a good day. So thank you very much for joining me.